In this video, I'm going to show you how I made these earrings with a blind rivet. I started out with a shot plate design made from a PotterUSA impression die. I then sawed around the impression to leave me with just the design. These will become my rivet heads. I hammered textured some copper sheet and cut out 2 small discs. And then I used a PotterUSA pancake die to cut these small shapes that are also going to be part of the earring. I'm going to drill a hole in the top. This is where the ear wire will hang from. And then I'm also going to drill a hole at the bottom in the center of that small circle. That is where my rivet will go through. Alright, and then for my rivet, I'm going to use 16 gauge sterling silver wire. I'm going to make sure it fits well in my hole. You want the wire to be snug in the hole that you drilled. I'm going to cut 2 short pieces of wire. This is obviously much longer than I need for a rivet, but it's going to help me hold on to this piece, and I can cut the excess off at the end. So I'm going to file the end of the wire flat. This end is going to be soldered onto my shot plate impression. So they're going to get soldered together, and the shot plate design is going to act as the rivet head. So I'm ready to solder. I'm adding flux to my pieces. Now I'm heating and melting solder to the end of my rivet wire. And then I'm using a charcoal block to hold my little impression piece steady while I solder the wire to the impression. It's a dome, so it didn't want to rest flat on the soldering board, which is why I used the charcoal. Now I'm ready to drill a hole in my copper discs. The rivet is also going to go through the copper. And after I drill a hole, I like to remove the burr created by the drill bit by just taking a larger drill bit in between my thumb and first finger and twisting it by hand in the hole. And it just kind of countersinks that hole ever so slightly, creating a beveled edge, and it removes the sharp burr. So I'm going to do that on the second disc as well. And then I'm just going to make sure everything's sanded flat. And here is my rivet out of the pickle. It's nice and clean. And this is how these pieces are going to fit together. So they'll be riveted like this, and then the earring will hang from the hole in the top of that silver piece. First, I need to finish off the little rivet head. When I sawed this out, I didn't bother filing and sanding the edge of it because I knew it would be easier once I had my wire soldered to it, so I'm sanding it now. So the edges have been refined and sanded. And now I'm ready to determine my rivet length. So really the length just needs to be like the thickness of the wire. Sometimes I like to go 1.5 times the thickness of the wire, but it's not a whole lot. So you can see I just have about the thickness of the wire sticking out the back here. And then I'm going to use my impression die to hold my piece as I rivet. And this will keep that design from being smashed flat as I hammer the rivet in place, because I've seated it in the impression so that it is fit right in there the way it should. And now I'm just using a chasing hammer to lightly tap that wire down, riveting everything in place. As long as your impression is seated properly, when you finish up, you'll end up with a beautiful impression shot plate design as your rivet head and a nice smooth rivet on the back. So as you're riveting, just slowly, follow the edge of that tiny little rivet around with the hammer and tap that edge down. You're just compressing and upsetting the end of the wire. And there you go. So let's just make sure I didn't damage that impression at all while I was riveting. And it looks perfect. So now I just need to add the ear wire and patina and polish. I'm going to just use liver of sulfur for my patina. I like to mix it with hot water. And then I'm just going to let the pieces sit for a minute, fish them out. And I like to scrub them in between with a brass brush and some nice soapy water. Sometimes I'll re-dip them in the liver of sulfur 2 or 3 times. And then when I'm happy with the color, I will take a sanding sponge and remove it from the top surfaces so that it's left only in the depressions. And these are the finished earrings. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a blind rivet.